Hello, this is Dave at Crossties Hunting Beagles. Something I was thinking on this week was in regards to your health care of your dogs in the field. And what brought that on, I had instance this week where I was running Pete, and he's one of those dogs that doesn't give a whole lot of regards for his safety when he's going after and looking for a rabbit. And he's pretty prone to come back with his head cut up and that type of stuff. And he came in, he was hunting a thicket in a fence row with a lot of briars and honeysuckles, and he come in and you could tell he was having some problem with his eye. And so I got him back to the truck and looked at his eye, and he had run a blade of grass down into his inside of his eyelid and had to get that out. But one of the things that I wanted to just reflect on a little bit was to remind you that it's a good idea to take first aid with you into the field. And let me tell you some things that we consider and look at that may help you. One of the big concerns, especially in this time of the year in summer running, is with snakes in our area. And we've got three types of snakes in our area. We've got timber rattlers, and then mostly we deal with copperheads and water moccasins. And in my experience with some of my friends, I've never personally had one bit by a timber rattler, but most of the guys who have said that they just lost the dog. It was nothing they could do about it before they got back. But as far as the copperheads and the water moccasins, there's some ways that you can handle that in the field that'll save your dog and minimize the difficulty. So the first thing I tell you for your first aid kit in regards to that is something that a vet told me years ago. He said, Dave, take with you a bottle of liquid Benadryl children's formula. And he said what that is that's a little bit weaker version. Instead of 25 milligrams of diphenhydramine, it's got 12.5 per dose. And he said, give that dog immediately when you find out that it's been snake bit in the field, give it as quickly as possible a teaspoon of that, or 5 cc's. He said your dog may get really drugged up to the point of slobbering, but it's not going to hurt the dog. He says it's nearly impossible to OD him on that stuff. And we've done that on several occasions, and it does help to minimize the swelling in the dogs because of the antihistamine in it. And then also we give a shot of a broad spectrum antibiotic for secondary infections. I know a lot of the old timers in our area said give them an aspirin, and actually the vet talked with me about that, and he said do not give them an aspirin under any case, because a lot of the snakes have hemotoxin in them. And what that aspirin is going to do is it's going to thin the blood down further, and it's going to make them more apt to bleed. So at his advice, he said don't do that. If you can do it and you can get a vet to prescribe it to you, there's a drug called dexamethasone, which is a steroid, and that's actually what they give at the vet a lot of times when they get a dog snake bit. And so you can carry a vial of it with you and some syringes and administer it as soon as possible after the dog's been bit, and it'll do a real good job on the snake bite, taking care of that as well. The other thing that we learned when we were coon hunting years ago, and again this was at the advice of the vet, was to take with you some super glue, because super glue is going to instant bond skin. And if you get a bad cut and you can't get that thing to stop bleeding, that you can bond that skin with that super glue. And he said just leave a small pinhole at the end of it to where it can drain out, that way if it's got any infection, and that'll help you out with that. Another thing that, it's just common sense, but just a reminder, make sure that in the summertime you carry water for your dog and something for it to drink out of. If you're getting hot walking and you're up above the thicket level, imagine how hot that those little dogs get running down in those thickets and in those fields. So take a good water source for the dogs. And it's a good idea, if you're not going to be where there's a pond or a creek that they can get in and lay in, actually to take a cooler with just room temperature water in it. Don't want it to be too cold, because it'll cause the dog trouble if you submerge them in that and they're already overheated. But just take a room temperature water, and then you can put them in that and help to cool them down. And that's a good idea. When you go out, always take a little something for the dog as far as to eat, to help with sugar. Over the years, I've known several guys. In fact, when I was a kid, Dad had a bird dog that would do this. would have sugar fits because its sugar would get so low. And so what I usually do is I take a pack of peanut butter crackers with me, and if the dogs have been running for very long, I'll catch them in a breakdown or after we've shot a rabbit or whatever the case might be, and I'll give each one of the dogs a peanut butter cracker, and that helps out to keep sugar up on the dogs. And then also, if you are an individual who has problem with diabetes or your sugar levels drop, it's a good idea to take something like that with you as well. Take an ace bandage or a compression wrap. That way, if you got a dog that gets injured as far as a tendon or a leg or something like that gets hurt, you can wrap the dog up and help to give it some support until you get it back. And then also, you need to think about the fact that a lot of times it's easy to get tangled up in barbed wire when you're crossing a fence, or slide down in a creek, or do something like that, twist an ankle or a leg, and that'll give you something as well that you can wrap up for support if you need to get back. And then one other thing that I advise is to take some type of a saline eye flush with you. And that can be used either for the dog or for yourself. There's been a few times in our area there's a lot of ag, and we've actually went in and run dogs in places that we didn't realize had just been sprayed just almost right before we got there. And the dogs get it in their eyes, and it'll burn their eyes. And then I actually did that myself in a field one time, and burned my eye pretty bad and ended up at the hospital to get that taken care of because it got infected. So you can take it saline rinse, and it's also good to help wash seeds and debris and stuff like that out of the dog's eyes if you have an issue there. And then it gets you as well get you an antibiotic eye ointment that does not have steroid in it. Terramycin is one that is pretty common that you can get usually at like a Tractor Supply store. Erythromycin eye ointment, you can find it in the section like where you buy stuff for a pink eye for cattle. A lot of times we'll have that, and it'll run you about $15 to $20 for an eighth of an ounce tube, but it'll go a long way. And then if you get a dog that gets an abrasion or gets something in their eye, you can start immediately treating it before you get a situation where the dog has an infection starting to build up in that. So that's a real good idea as well. Kind of goes without saying. Take some Neosporin, some bandages, that kind of stuff in your first aid kit for yourself. And as funny as this may sound, some people may say, "Well, you sound like you're carrying a lot of stuff." But we hunt in areas a lot of times that are quite a ways from our home and quite a ways from any town or hospital. And sometimes that stuff it can help you when you're injured. It could potentially help to save a life, but then also it could keep you from losing one of your top hounds in the field during a hunt or during a training session. And so just something to think about there. There's a lot of other stuff that you could go over that you could put in a kit, but that's just some of the basic stuff that can help you out, and you might find yourself needing it at some point, and it's better to have it with you and not need it than to find yourself needing it and not having it and run into some big problems. So hope this helps somebody out, maybe a little bit of reminder. God bless you. Don't put those hounds up during the summer. If you can keep from it, run them, and try to keep them in shape, but where you don't have to go as far to get them back where they need to be in hunting season, and enjoy it, but use some good common sense. God bless you.